Story time, particularly if you struggle with confidence, self-love, respect. This is about to hit differently, so hear me out. I spent my entire freaking life trying to fit in. I legitimately obsessed over it. But when you have zero, zilch, nada self-confidence, you are constantly searching for self-validation. For those of you who don't know me or follow me or know my story, I spent my entire childhood and honestly well into my adult life being 100 pounds overweight. But I'm sure you do know, growing up, kids, they're freaking mean. They can be brutal. So I had to get really creative trying to find ways to quote unquote fit in. I was the heaviest girl in my graduating class, so naturally I wasn't a part of any cliques. I had zero confidence, as mentioned, so I struggled to make any friends at all. Designer clothes didn't come in my size. Fashion trends definitely didn't look good on my body, so I was left being creative and trying to find ways to quote unquote fit in. So I would spend an obnoxious amount of money on things like clothes, handbags, makeup, shoes, because you didn't have to be a particular size to participate. I had an obscenely large amount. Remember those over-the-shoulder Roxy bags? If you grew up in the 90s, if you know, you know. And I had an obscene amount of them because the girls that I looked up to and I wanted to be like, every time I brought one to school, they would compliment me. And it was a way for me to quote unquote fit in. And so let's just say I'm no stranger to understanding what it feels like to be an outsider. Without even knowing it, I was setting myself up for this vicious cycle of disappointment. Chasing approval is like chasing the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It just doesn't freaking exist. And if you would have told me 20 years ago I would be leading a team of over 500 women to their best self, I would have laughed in your face. But transitioning from a follower to a leader has been one of the most humbling and impactful things I have ever done. Leaders don't chase, they attract. They provide support, value, community, impact. My coach said something to me 2 years ago that dramatically changed the trajectory of my life, if I'm being honest with you, and it's the foundation of how we coach on my team. But he looked me straight in the eyes and he said, Nicole, you are not special, but you are who you choose to be. And at face value, it seems harsh, but let me dive in and elaborate. Everybody that I looked up to, everybody that I was so desperately trying to be like and fit in with, had nothing different than I did. They just chose differently. They chose to do the hard work to get them there. And if you took a fraction of the energy that you spent on trying to fit in and poured that into how you stand out, how much more powerful of a position would you be in? From that moment, I chose to do everything in my power to stop fitting in and seeking approval. And I understand that this concept is easy to talk about. It's not necessarily easy to execute. So here's your sign. And I so wish somebody would have pointed this out to me earlier. Take the energy that you spend hyperfixating on what everybody else thinks, trying to fit in, and pour that into your own mother effing cup.